What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Black Belt Business Podcast. I'm your host, Elliot Marshall, and it is my goal with each episode of this podcast to share the stories, strategies, tactics, tools, and resources that will help you establish or grow your martial arts school. The Black Belt Business Podcast is brought to you by Easton.Online. You can find all of our digital courses, martial arts curriculums, and resources designed to help you enhance your business at Easton.Online. So without further ado, let's jump into the episode. Fellas, what up? How are you?
Doing good. How are you?
Good. Phipps, how are you?
I'm good.
Good. We have to do a little impromptu one over the internet today using technology. So I hope this one should work just as well as the other ones, which you're awesome. What's that say, Phipps?
What?
Your coffee cup, dog.
You're awesome. Keep that shit up.
We can't see it. You're awesome. Keep that shit up. Oh, I like it. I like it. All right, everyone, remember you're awesome. And keep that shit up and get to work. How you guys been? Let's just do a little check-in, right? We want to show people remembering a little check-in, because that's one of the biggest things that we do when we run our businesses, when we run the schools, is we always check in with everyone, make sure they're doing well before you go into actual work. Because if someone's in a shit place, you got to remember, guys, it's got to be life first. Right? It's got to be life first. If someone's in a shit place, they're probably going to do shit work. And if they're in a shit place and you listen to them and hear maybe, care, give a rat's ass, give them 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it takes, they'll probably do better work than they would have even though they're in a shit place. So, and remember, it's people first. So, Phipps, how you doing, man? How's things?
Things are going, man. I feel like we're not to get ahead of ourselves, but we're in the swing of summer, which kind of means things tend to slow down. We do have some events coming up, but the events have been marketed, so it's like they're going to go off this weekend, and then we're just kind of in the summer, the slowness of the summer, which, the way things work, at least at Easton, is we go through a lot of ebbs and flows. Like, we'll have a lot of things happening at once, and then we'll kind of relax for a month and a half or 2 months. And so I feel like there's been a lot more flows than ebbs in the past year. We've had a lot of busy times, and times that are traditionally less busy have been busy. So it'll be nice to be in a little bit of a slower time and just be able to relax a little bit and enjoy training and get some extra projects done that have been on the back burner.
Nice. Oh yeah. Jordan, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I don't know what else to say. I'm doing great, man. Life's awesome. So I earlier for the month of May, I dealt with a lot of illness. I kept getting sick off and on, which is weird time of year for me to get sick. Usually, I get hammered in cold and flu season because I work so much with the kids and traveling to other schools, and they're just little bioterrorists, so I get infected with everything that's going around. But I don't know what was going on in May, but I kept going back and forth, and did a couple competitions on half a tank, because I was sick going into them, but you show up and you do it no matter what. But man, life's great. Yeah, I'm in a really good spot right now. So.
Oh yeah, I remember I did an Honor Invitational, and I flew down to Austin, and I was like, man, I'm not feeling so great. And then I looked at my elbow or my knee, I can't remember which one it was, and it was just blown up, and I had a fucking staph infection.
Oh.
So I had to go get antibiotics real fast, go do the match. Still, I felt like shit, Yeah. So, yeah, it sucks. My checking, fellas, I'm glad to be alive. I got a great story. It's hilarious.
All right.
All right. So I think I told you guys I've been having blood pressure issues, right, for 8 months. When we finally got it figured out. Well, one of the meds that I had to switch to is a diuretic, so you just piss a lot. And some days it's a lot, and then some days it's a fucking lot, right? A lot. And it can come on boom. You're like, oh, okay, I'll be fine, I'll go pee when I get to where I'm going. And then a minute or two later, you're like, holy shit. It's intense. So we're driving to the airport. I have a bunch of black kids in the back of my car. Okay? Hold on. It makes the story better because we're playing basketball. we're going to travel for basketball, and it comes, right? And I'm like, fuck, okay, I can make it. And then right on Pena Boulevard, for those of you who don't know Pena Boulevard, it's the airport road, and there's always a gas station, right? Like right there. So I passed the gas station, and the gas station's like, what do you think, a mile, half a mile from the parking garage, right?
Yeah, probably a
mile. And man, it fucking starts to drip out. I can't, it's starting to drip. I'm like, fuck, but I'm like, I can make it. So I'm fucking speeding down Pena Boulevard, and of course a cop is there. And of course he gets me, and of course he pulls me over, and I just got to pee so bad.
And he's like, "Any reason you going so fast?"
No, hold on. And I put my hands out the window, and I get out of the car.
Oh my god!
Yeah, I'm gone, bro. I'm gone. I'm not even present, And I walk, and I won't go. I'm like, bro, sir, I have to pee so bad. Please just let me pee. Please just let me pee. And he puts his hand on his fucking gun, and he goes, "Get the fuck back in the car." And I'm like, but you don't understand, I got to pee so bad. And he starts to take the gun out. And I was like, oh, my God, what am I doing? I was like, just pee your pants if you have to.
What the fuck?
Yeah, so I, run back in the car. And I sit there, and, he goes, I'll make this as fast as possible. And then I was like, so he makes it, he gives me the fucking ticket. Fuck, I got to pay that ticket. I don't know where it is. So he gives me the ticket. And then I'm like, man, he's going to follow me because he knows I'm not going to make it to a bathroom. But he doesn't follow me. Like I drive around the corner real quick, and I just piss fucking everywhere. But yeah, I almost got shot by a cop.
What the fuck? You got out, and you were like, "Don't shoot, man."
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh.
And could you imagine?
The car's full of kids this whole time.
Black kids too. Oh, so imagine if I get shot. They're my kid and a bunch of black kids, and they're just like, oh, okay, great.
They have zero trust. They're like, this dude couldn't even get out of his car to piss without almost getting shot.
I am 265 pounds and walk towards a cop, though. That was not silly. The smartest thing. That was not smart, right? There would have been some fault on mine on that.
Right, so. Because, trying to unzip your pants to go pee is also kind of like reaching in your pants for a weapon. Yeah. Oh, my God.
Yeah. I was like, what am I doing?
Wow. That was a good story.
It was a good, it's a good one.
It was a good story. That was not a good story. That was not a good one.
All the older people I've told her, that's not a good story. That like my mom and dad and my best friend's parents are like, that's not really that funny. And I'm like, okay. I thought it was kind of funny. Now, it's funny.
It's funny now.
Yeah, it's funny now.
Not funny in the moment.
No.
No. It's horribly funny.
Mm-hmm. So.
Oh, wow. Anyway. All right, I'm glad you're alive, buddy.
Hey, Phipps, make sure we clip that one, and we'll use that for some. I don't know. We got to use that somewhere, right? I have to use that somewhere.
Awesome.
I don't know if it's like Easton. I don't know if it's like hey, sign up at Easton.Online. This is this is how you get shot.
We're just everyday people.
Yeah. All right. So Phipps, you touched on a little bit what we're going to talk about today. Summertime. We should use Will Smith and DJ Jazzy Jeff. Summertime. Do you guys remember that song?
Yeah.
Too old for, okay.
Yeah, dude. No.
As the intro to this episode. Okay. We won't pay for the rights or anything, but
we'll just get flagged. And
yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
You run the risk always. Summertime's hard. Summertime's different. Summertime. We were just talking about it. You go offline, man, you get a lot of leads. Hold on. You don't get a lot of leads, first of all. A lot of the leads that you get, you call them, they're like, oh, man, this sounds great. We'll see you after the summer. We're just so inconsistent, right? Or we have so much going on. Or even people that come in and try a class will say that to you. And there's no real objection for this. There's no real objection we always try to overcome objections. You can't overcome that one. The trial month doesn't do it. Nothing does it, right? Jordan, kids programs, man. I think the biggest thing for kids programs can be they don't have anything to do they have nothing to do all day. Therefore, they do so much playing this, that, you know what I mean? It's hard to get the kids to the class.
Yeah,
right.
No, that's true. Yeah.
because they've been in a pool all day, or they went this all day, or
a different summer camp all day, or something like that.
And they're
I
exhausted.
just saw a family the other day. It's like they're in class every single day, and it's funny because they still came to the academy for whatever reason, but they just sat out of class and
That's cool.
just didn't do it. It was cool that they were there, but they sat out for that very reason. The mom was like, look, they've been in camp all day. They did this, they did that. It's just a little bit much. They're a little tired, you know? And, but I also took it as a compliment that our kids class is so, ballin' that they were like, we don't have the energy for this. And I was
and that we don't want to miss it. We still want to be there. So that's really
right,
cool.
right. And they didn't want to miss it though. They still wanted to be there to see what was going on. So I thought it was really cool. But yeah, you're exactly right. There's a double-sided coin here because you would think that during the summertime is when everybody is available and has the time, which is true. But that's when everybody, especially the kids, that's when all the families are scheduling their travel, their vacations. They're seeing relatives. They're seeing summer camps. But the other big thing that I notice is that everybody's off the routine, right? When the school year starts and everybody's in that rhythm of okay, I'm going to get off work. I'm going to go pick up my kids from school. I'm going to drive them straight to jiu-jitsu, and then I'm going to go run errands, and then I'm going to pick them up, and then we're going to go home, and we're going to do our things. When that routine is gone, when they're home, and the parents drive home from work instead of just picking them up from school, it's they don't leave the house and go back to jiu-jitsu, because that transition is a lot harder. And plus, like you said, the kids have been running around all day. They've been in the pool, and they're like, I don't want to go today. I've been doing X, Y, Z. So, yeah, but then on the other side of it, sometimes it's the opportunity for some of our schools will run summertime morning classes for the kids that are really well attended.
Let's get into the solutions in a second, right? We're just stating the problems. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to get into the solutions in a second. And then, when it comes to the adults a little bit, rooftop decks with good-looking young people, it's hard to fight that.
Right. Yeah.
It's hard to fight that. It's fun. It's you go hang out these for the non-familied people, right?
Yeah.
These things are, and same thing. It's nice out. You want to throw some shit on the grill, hang out, have a drink, right? And you just see down. You see down in attendance, right? You see down in revenue. You see down in retention, right? Because if you just sign somebody up in May, for example, they're in that critical period where you need them coming 3 times a week. You need them falling in love. And if that's not happening because of other factors, then they tend to quit, right?
Yeah.
So we have all these problems, right? We know what they are. We can't really do it. You can't change the time of year. It is what the fuck it is. People are going to do all those things. Phipps, you're going to do all those things. Jordan, you're going to do all those things. And I'm going to do them too, right? You want people to enjoy their life. This is a great time of year to do it. So Phipps, on the marketing end, what the hell do we do? God, man.
So I think there's multiple approaches, but we're definitely not spending as much on our advertising over the summer, just because even if you get the leads, like you said, a lot of them will come in, they'll do their trial class. I'm really going to be gone for the next month. So it's something where we're still spending money, but it's not the same that we would spend right when school starts, at other peak seasons. And then we maintain a presence that we always try to maintain on social media, through our emails, on our blogs, just to keep that SEO number high, right? Just so that when people do search out jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai, we're still popping up at the top of our search results. And then we have little things Jordan mentioned summer camps outside of Easton, but we do summer camps as well inside of Easton. So just because we know membership people will be suspending and they'll be gone and we won't gain as many members over the summer. We fill that time with other like revenue generating opportunities. Like the kids are free, the academies are a little bit more open than usual, so why not use that space and use those kids' time and occupy it with some martial arts and stuff. So
let's go back to the marketing. I liked a lot of things that you said here. First of all, don't spend more. Like cut it a little bit, right? Not to zero. You can't go to zero, right? But don't spend more because you can't, because it will piss out the door, right? The amount it costs to get the lead, right? To get the same amount of leads, that actually come in the door. Maybe not the same amount of leads. Even if you get the same amount of leads, that's not really that bottom line thing that you're looking at. You're looking at the same amount of signups, and that's just impossible. So to spend more to get the same when you know it won't work doesn't make sense. You can't spend more money. But there's other things, right? There's other things. And one of the big things that you talked about was the blog, right? Keep posting the blog. Now, when we post a blog, we've talked about this before, we also post that on our social medias, right? So, and we also send it out to our email list so that the people that aren't signed up, we're still right here. We're still staying right in the front of their mind, right? And we're playing much more of what, wouldn't you say, a long-term play on marketing over the summer rather than this immediate come in and sign up right now.
Yeah, I mean, if you think of in terms of like a battle, we're not trying to advance ground right now. We're trying to hold the ground we have, and then we'll wait till better conditions arrive, and then we'll keep the push going.
Because you can't advance ground.
Correct.
Look, and
you might be able to, but it's just going to be so costly that it's not going to actually end up benefiting you, even if you do gain a little bit of ground.
Oh, when I say advance ground, I'm talking more money. I'm not talking more students.
Okay,
yeah. You can't advance ground. You even if you gained more students, yes, you would have such in war. You would have such casualties, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, God, I just had something. Oh, I was thinking, and then you look at a school like Boulder, for example. I mean, what do you think the percentage of Boulder is of students, of like college kids? 40, 30?
It's a big percentage. I feel like out of all the schools that I train at regularly, it's when you walk into Boulder where you really feel summertime.
Yeah. So like we're in a college town. In Boulder, and I can remember the first year that I owned it, and because I get profit checks as an owner, and I was like, yo, I'm what? Like, wait a minute, like what happened here? And so because it's such a massive dip, because 30% of your student base just goes away. So that's a big thing, right? As we were talking a second ago, is how to combat that. One of the things you said, and Jordan, this will lead into you a little bit. Man, what do we do with the kids to try to keep the kids coming?
Yeah, well, like I said, it's attendance can be all over the place. It can be really weird. I'll see some kids' classes that are huge and normal, and I mean, I was at a kids class the other day where everybody told me this is our most attended day, and I came to watch classes and like one kid showed up for a class, and it's just a fluke. But so you do deal with that, but there is the opportunity, some of our schools are running summertime morning kids classes at like 9 or 10 a.m., and those perform really well.
Let's talk about the reasoning behind that. What's the reasoning behind those morning kids classes? What are we combating?
Well, they're not at school. Right? They're not at school, so they have the opportunity to do it. But I imagine that, if I'm a parent and I'm looking for something to do with my kid, I've got to get up and go to work. Well, I can take my kid to jiu-jitsu class and drop them off, and I can go to work, and maybe the babysitter picks them up after class and takes them home, or they go to summer camp or something like that. And then,
we're combating I'm too tired. Right, we're combating the pull
right,
the
exactly. They haven't been playing all day long, and then they're not too tired. Yeah, they can show up in the morning, and then you're still gonna have your enthusiasts, like, because I mean there are some kids that are fanatical about jiu-jitsu who are gonna go. Like I see some kids at some of our schools, they're training 3 times a day right now, right? Because they're 12 or 13 years old, they're getting a little bigger, and so they get to go to their morning class, and then they stick around for the adult noon class, and they've got their friends in there, so they have training partners, and then they stick around again, and then they do that regular kids class. Like, I saw a kid the other day, he comes in with his backpack, he's like, I have 3 gis in my backpack. And I'm like, are you going to train 3 times today? He's like, yeah. And I'm like, what an amazing life you have, kid. Like, that's incredible, So yeah, we're absolutely combating that when we have the morning classes, for sure.
How about kids summer camps? What do we do
Kids
with that?
summer camps? Yeah, so we usually do, each school will do like 2 to 3 sessions during the summer. And they usually just, we've been running summer camps for quite some time, so we have a lot of data about like which dates and which weeks perform the best in terms of attendance and signups, like in a given region or something. And there's a lot of overlap there. July can always be kind of tough. A lot of families like to travel in July, so it's like the beginning and end of summer can be really good time for summer camps, because that's not when everybody's scheduling their vacations. So attendance can be a little bit higher for those sessions. Sometimes we run different sessions at different times for different age groups. If the age group that you're running a summer camp for is like too big, it can make it less fun for the kid, because you might get a bunch of like 4 and 5-year-olds, and then you get a bunch of 10-year-olds over here, and like the 10-year-olds do not want to hang out with the 5-year-olds,
And you can't do the same activities, right? Because they don't have the same
right.
attention
You can't
span.
do the same activities, absolutely. Yeah. So we'll usually run those for like a week, and we'll offer different pricing options where parents can sign up for a half day, a full day, multiple days, whatever it may be. And we do Muay Thai, we do Jiu-Jitsu, we do arts and crafts, we have snacks, we have games. It's a lot of fun.
One of the things that we want to talk about here real fast, I think, with summer camps is if you haven't done it yet and you just want to like throw a summer camp together, just be ready for rough attendance, okay? Because parents sign up for summer camps in February.
Right.
Right? Like,
yeah.
Like, so do it. We're not saying don't do it, right? Because it will be a good way to keep some kids involved, maybe get a couple new kids. Okay, we're not saying don't do the summer camp. Don't like throw something together for the end of August or the middle of August, whenever the last, towards the end of summer is for you. Go ahead, but just be aware. Don't make that be like summer camps don't work, okay? Because we did this for years. We would forget about it. This is before you guys. We would forget about it. May would come, we'd go, shit, summer camp. And we'd start trying to get people to sign up for summer camp mid-May. School lets out in 2 weeks. And everyone's like, yeah, you have 5 kids at summer camp. Because
yeah, they've already made their plans.
Okay?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we should probably do a summer camp podcast in January. So to remind people. Yeah, in December.
In December.
Right.
Because you need to start planning this. Because you need it on your website. You need to be selling it in January and February. Like, you don't need to be doing that then. Like, you need to be ready to go. Yeah.
Yeah. If you're listening to this right now and you don't have summer camps planned, then you should start planning summer camps for next year, like right now. And make calendar updates or like calendar events that notify you. In December, I need to get this on my website. In January, I need to start reaching out or posting on social media, sending my emails, whatever it is that you do to reach your audience. Like, it's too late. You missed your boat already for the summer. Start thinking about next year so you can do it well.
Yeah. So, and this is a big thing that people do, right? Especially smaller schools, one person, kind of running the ship. We had 5 people running the ship, and we still fucked it up. So, you got to remember that summer camps need to be launched earlier in the year, okay? Really, kind of like Jordan said, you have to plan it in December so it launches in mid-January, February. So, but this is another thing. You said a word, Phipps, that let's talk about it, the calendar. You have to put the calendar to use because I don't know if you guys have noticed, but June, July, August, they come every year, okay? Like I don't think we've missed
you guys
one.
have noticed.
You know,
That's amazing.
So we've never missed June, July, or August. So you know it's coming. Prepare. Okay? Prepare for the summer. Be ready to cut your staff down. Right? At Jordan, when you ran the school, for example, okay, you knew summertime was coming. You knew kids' classes were smaller. You had to reorient your staffing, right? You knew adult classes were smaller, right? Like, talk about that a little bit. Like, you have to do things.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think in an ideal scenario, like if you're doing it well, ideally you're not making major changes in the summertime. You know, like sure attendance drops, but at the same time, like, you know, I'll use kids classes as an example, right? When attendance drop in kids classes during the summer, I've been in a situation where it's like you look at the attendance and you look around at how many coaches you have on the mat and you're like, oh, I have enough coaches. This is fine, right? But if you allow it to stay there, right? Like if you don't think ahead, then when the fall comes and your attendance spikes because everybody's returning to school and they're back to their routine, and not only do you have all of your regulars coming back to class, but you get a whole bunch of new signups, because there's like two big spikes every year that we experience in martial arts is the New Year, New Me rush, which is like the entire fitness industry, but then it's also in the fall when the school year starts. Like we always see another spike, and it's not just in college towns, you know, it's like it's everywhere. We see this.
And it's not just kids programs. It's
not just
too.
kids programs,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And you know, I know like what you asked me is like, well, how do we cut down on payroll and expenses during the summer? And for sure, I guess if there's an opportunity to do that, you can do that. But in my experience, it's like I've been more than I've had to like cut people that weren't needed. What I experienced was getting caught with my pants down, like when the kids came back. Right? Like I remember we had after our first summer in Longmont, you know, we had like 4 coaches on the mats for kids class, which is now our minimum for like any kids class, regardless of size, because that's what we need to run our model. But like I remember we had 4 coaches, and I think that does well for up to like 25, maybe 30 kids, you know. I think you're starting to push it a little bit when you get to 30, at least for the ratios that we look for. But I remember like all of the sudden, one day in October, we had 4 coaches on the mats, and we had over 50 kids show up for class. And it was the right problem to have, but unfortunately, we lost a couple of new students. Like they had been coming for about a week, and because we only had 4 coaches and that many kids on the mat, we weren't able to skillfully divide our attention amongst all of the kids. And so like a couple cancellation forms came in, you know? And so I've heard this expression like a fish will only grow as big as its tank, right? And I like to think of the tank in a kids program as not just the mat space or the size of the school. The size of the tank is how many coaches you have on the mat, right? Like how much individual attention are you able to spread out amongst all the students? And in the summertime, like sure, there could be low attendance, and you could have too many assistants on the mat, right? And you can send some of them home.
Man, don't send them home. Have them clean.
Well, if there's cleaning to do, for sure. But you know, like there's not always cleaning to do in the middle of like classes when people are in and out of the locker room and they're on the mats and stuff like that.
I can remember when I was a kid, and I first started teaching karate. Mm-hmm. And we had too many people. Like there was too many instructors, right? Because we just didn't need them. I had to go outside and clean around the school, pick up the trash, weed, you know, especially some of these junior instructors, these really junior coaches. So, man, put those fuckers to work. It'll be all right.
Yeah, that's an opportunity too. That's an opportunity too. But yeah, you know, I would rather have with the kids classes, I would rather plan for too many and then like send some people home or have them pick up trash or whatever it is, than to get caught you know, with not enough coaches. Because, you know, like I tell all of the schools, it's like nobody ever filled out a cancellation form because there was too many coaches on the mat.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, it's a good point, Jordan. No one has ever been like, damn, I got too much attention.
Right. Yeah.
So, and I think this is another big thing, just as in general, with all of your instructors, and I don't know which one of you guys said it, like these anomaly classes where like no one shows up, right? Like, oh, you did, said Jordan. You said you visited somewhere, it's the busiest class, and all of a sudden there's 5 kids. Okay?
Yeah.
And this shit happens, right? It's not time to panic. It's not time to anything, right? Like this shit happens. But you do have to talk to your instructors and be like, yo, if you're teaching a private lesson in a class, that shit better be the best class you've ever taught. Okay? You have to talk about this. You have to let people know this is going to happen and make sure they stay enthusiastic as fuck when they're teaching these classes that are abnormally small. And you as the business owner, don't fucking panic.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, no, you have to, especially when it comes to attendance, you have to take the seasonality into consideration, and you have to look at overall trends. You know, you have to be tracking your numbers and your attendance, and you have to be able to take an objective look at reality and not just go by how things might feel in the moment, because it's really easy to get a distorted picture when you're in a bubble, you know, and it's hard to see the water you're swimming in. So like making sure that you're tracking those numbers regularly and looking at trend lines and stuff like that really helps you zoom out and figure out whether or not there's an actual issue there. But I like what you said about having to maintain the enthusiasm and energy regardless of like the amount of students that show up, because you know, I was so proud of our staff. Like this example, this just happened on Wednesday, right? I showed up, it was a Little Tigers class. Everybody told me this was the biggest, most attended class, like
What
everything. Say what?
What school?
Well, I was trying to leave school names out of it. So, trying to leave school names out of it. But I showed up, there was 4 coaches on the mat, and there was 1 Little Tiger that showed up, right? And man, it can be really hard to keep the energy up for a class when there's only 1 student in class.
Especially a Little Tiger.
Yeah, and a Little Tiger, like a little 4-year-old, man. And, you know, if they had, like, sent a couple coaches home and turned that into a private lesson for that little kid, like, that would have been totally fine. I think because they knew I was there observing classes, they went through the whole class structure as if there were 20 kids in there, right? So, I mean, like, they're lining the kid up, the 1 kid, and they're like, how are you doing today, Tigers? And then, like, this 1 kid is answering, and they even took one of the coaches, and, like, one of the coaches decided to pretend to be a student that day, you know? And, like,
cool.
Stood in line next to him and everything, and I was just so proud of our staff because none of those coaches checked out, man. Like, none of them checked out. Like, they were all focused on this kid, and, you know, that school does a really good job of divvying up the responsibilities, different portions of the class to different coaches, so everybody has a job, and everybody did their job the same level as, like, if there were 20 kids in there. Like, did the mat chat for 1 kid, high energy. Taught the technique to 1 kid, high energy. Like, training rounds, like they just let the kid just pick different coaches, and you know, that kid beat up all the coaches, and just afterwards I was like, see, now that's what we want, because that kid had an amazing class, right? That was a really special day for that kid, and I watched the father watch the whole thing the entire time, and there was just a smile on his face, like ear to ear the entire time. Like, sometimes kids can show up in that situation and instructors drop the ball, and that's the kid's last class. That class sucked. None of my friends.
It doesn't even have to be a kid. It could be everyone's last class.
It could be any
adult's last class, right?
Yeah,
This
exactly.
is not kid focused here. Like,
right.
If you teach a shitty class, remember, it is so much easier to quit everyone than it is to keep coming.
That is true.
Right?
That
it is so much easier to quit. Everything in your soul is, especially in the beginning, is telling you to quit. It's telling you to quit. It's uncomfortable. You're nervous. You have to wear this uniform. You don't know what you're doing. Right? Like, people look like everyone looks like a badass to you, and you're not. You're sweaty. You have to touch people. Like, man, it is so much easier to quit. And in the summertime, we just give them reasons to. You know?
Yeah.
In the summertime, we just give them reasons to. Don't give them a reason to. Okay? And that starts with how you teach the class, how you show up, how your staff is. You know, and when they walk in the door, it's hot. We know our schools are hot. Got it. It's always hot in there. There's nothing you can really do to combat it. There's, you know, if there's 20 people in a school at the time, man, it's going to be muggy. It's going to be sweaty. It's just what it's going to be, you know? So just even with the air conditioner on, and everything. So just be ready for this and be prepared. I want to touch on one last thing as we talk about it, because you brought up this Jordan. You said look at trends and stuff like that. Don't look at trends based on last month. Like when June comes, don't look at how much money you made in May, or when July comes to May. Like, you know, be like, oh man, we're going down. You look month over year. How am I doing June 2024 versus how did I do June 2023? Because this is the real comparison. This is the real apples to apples, because that's a big transition, right? Now, look, for sure, you in January to February, you definitely want to make more money in February based on January because of sign-ups and all this other stuff. But really, even then, you want to look at, okay, how did I do February? Like, how is the comparison January to February 2023 to January to February 2024? Because that's the real thing, not just the month over the month, right? Phipps, especially from like a marketing end, and like talk about how we look at trends.
It's, I mean, more or less like you talked about, when we're looking at, and this is how we make a decision on how much we're going to spend, right? Because we know year over year, these months, we're converting less, right? And that makes the cost per lead go up every time that we get a lead that we don't convert, because they have, you know, whatever plans they have over the summer. Now the next lead that we do convert, it was more expensive to get them because we lost a lead that maybe we wouldn't have lost in the fall, in the winter, in the spring. So you have, you know, I'm just going to double down what you said. You have to know how you did last June, right? You have to know how you did in that block of time, because then you can actually plan appropriately. But it's not something where you can, you know, silo this month by month and then compare it to the previous month. But once you start collecting this data, and I know a lot of people don't, like a lot of people couldn't go back and see what June 2023 looked like, but you should absolutely be doing that, because it's going to inform your approach. It's going to tell you when it's time to do other things, like, you know, Jordan said, offering a morning class for the kids. Or maybe there's some classes that don't make sense on your schedule during the summer, so you pull those off, and then when the attendance historically ticks back up, we add those classes back just to save on your payroll, or if you're coaching all the classes, to save on your time. But yeah, you have to understand what your numbers were last year to be able to make an informed approach on what you should do this year.
I lied about this. That was the last thing I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about one more thing. Sorry. I'm a fucking liar. And Jordan, you touched on this too. Making sure like that you had enough staffing for kids classes when the summertime ended and classes picked back up.
Yeah.
One of the things that we see from on a sales end, you know, and Jordan, you experienced this running the school. Mm-hmm. You get a lot of no's in the summertime, right? And like I talked about at the beginning, you get a lot of no's that are unobjection overcoming. Okay? Like there's nothing you can say, like, okay, we'll see you in August. Right? Or July.
Right.
And no's lead to a downturn in morale of the sales teams. Right?
Yeah.
And then they get a little lazy. When they get a lot of no's, they're like, this motherfucker's going to say no, I'm going to fucking can this in. You know? The same thing as when your teacher looks at it and goes, there ain't nobody here. I'm going to whatever, I'll teach this class, but whatever.
Yeah.
This is the time to do extra training. Right? This is the time to make sure your sales staff, that you're doing things to enthuse them, to really make sure that, like, look, that it stays steady through the summertime. But again, the peak is coming. A peak time of sales is coming. You can't roll into the end of August, September, October with shitty sales. With shitty sales numbers, with shitty sales morale. You've got to do things. Man, take those guys out to lunch. Do something fun with them. Go to Topgolf. Go rafting or something with them, right? Keep their morale high so that they're ready to fucking sell. Like, look, it's not your fault that we're not selling right now. I ain't mad at you. But what I'm gonna be mad at you is if I see you can't. If I see you just like, why am I forgetting the phrase when you just like can it in? Like you just
phone it in.
Phone it in. Yeah, thank you. When you just phone it in, you're like, whatever. Like that is gonna make me as an owner, me as a GM, me as an anything upset. Right? Give the best sale you can.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Go ahead,
and
Phipps.
I think honestly, this is a good point, not just for whoever's doing sales at your school, but for your coaches, for everybody. Like, double down on the product over the summer. Make sure people are as sharp as possible. Not just like, hey, class is going to be smaller, so I need you to be on your best behavior, but like use those opportunities to train new people. Use those opportunities to retrain the people you currently have, so that the people that come in over the summer are getting the best experience, maybe even a better experience coaching wise and from your front desk than when it's peak times. But then when peak times come, everyone's it's not like, oh, I'm rusty because I've been coaching half-assed classes all summer, and now I need to coach good classes. Like, coach your best classes when you're having small attendance so that those people keep coming, but also so that when it's time to start picking back up again, like, you're already rolling. You're already impressing the brand new person who comes in for day one because your coaches are killing it, or you're killing it as a coach.
Man, it just made me think of a story. I used to tell this story all the time. When I started, we only had Boulder, right? So you always, like, the only school, there was this massive dip every summer, right? Because the college kids and all that stuff. Well, I didn't go home. I stayed because I wanted to get good at jiu-jitsu. And what you just made me think of this when you're like, yo, be ready, get better. I got so much better over the summer times.
Yep.
Like, when people would come back from their whatever, from their vacations or their summertime break for school, and I would be fucking them up. And then they'd be like, man, what did you do? And I'd be like, I just stayed. I just stayed. I didn't take the summer off. Like, you guys went and took the summer off. I stayed. I trained. I got better. And then, you add 3 summers into that. 3 summers is 9 months. I have almost a whole year more of training than some of these people now that started at the same time as me, even though it's been the same actual time. So, man, that was a great point, Phipps. Take the summer and get better. Get better. You got more time because, whatever. There's less people. You academy owners, take the time to get better. Find better ways to market. Find better ways to sell. Find better ways to train your staff. Find better ways like the Easton.Online curriculum to purchase. And look, go through it. Go through it. I know I'm using this as a plug. What are we calling it, Phipps? It was great. Your name was great.
The
Fuck yeah, good job, everybody.
The Academy course.
Yeah, look, we're leaving the term affiliate, right? Let's explain this as we end the podcast. We're not calling it affiliates anymore because people think like, oh, I have to be Easton now, right? Like, affiliates, and just so you understand why we called it that, in the online course world, affiliates are people that do your product. Right? Those are your affiliates, okay? Well, in the jiu-jitsu world, in the martial arts world, affiliates are like, oh, I am a Renzo Gracie affiliate. And it's very personal. So we're leaving the word affiliate, everyone, okay? We have our Academy Accelerator program, okay, where it's going to help you retain, it's going to help you engage, it's going to help you attract more members, and all of the systems that we use around that. You're not going to call yourself Easton. Right, you can stay Gracie Baja, you can stay Allianz, you can stay Checkmat. Like, yeah, do your thing. This is literally just a 6 to 9 month curriculum for you. Buy it over the summer. Watch it. Are you going to do everything like us? No, you won't. It's okay, but I guarantee you, it will be well worth your $199 a month. Well worth the one student a month. If you don't gain one student a month because of this curriculum, you should close your doors. I believe that, you know? I believe that. And once you gain one student, all you got to do is gain one, because then that one makes up for the whole price after that. If you gain one student ever, then there it is. There's your $199. If you're not charging $199 for your membership, you should get to that too. And we talk about that in the course, how to raise your rates, you know, and the reason for that. So, but yeah, so get better. Everyone get better. Get the course, get on the Mac, get a BJJ Fanatics instructional, read a book on sales and marketing, you know, all of it. So get better over the summer.
The summer is the perfect time for it. You know, whether it's the accelerator course or something else, like if you want to improve little things in your academy, the times when you are the busiest and that your course load is the most is not the time to make those changes. Use the summer, right, when you have a little bit lower attendance, right, things are a little bit slower on the sales side. Use the summer to change the things that you want to see change in your academy, so that when the leads tick back up and attendance ticks back up, like you're already crushing it. You've already instituted the new, you know, whatever your new SOPs are, your new systems are. So,
yeah. Phipps, make sure we put the link to the curriculum in the bio, in the course content, so that they don't even have to. You don't even have to DM us. If you want to DM us and talk to us, we'll help you out for sure. We'll talk to you about the curriculum. But if you just want it, if you're like, yeah, Elliot's right, like $199 a month, who can't afford that? We'll put it right there for you. Click it, buy it. We'll actually be super stoked. I don't got to pay a sales guy, but anyway, actually no. I want to pay my sales guys. Like that was a dumb statement to say. Don't think like that, please. Okay, that was a joke. Don't think like that. You want to pay your sales guys. That means you're doing a good job. Okay, that means you're selling shit. Pay your salespeople. So, but that's it, guys. Mike Phipps. Jordan's not on social media. I'm at Fire Marshal 205. We are at Easton_online. Go check us out. Any questions you have. Thanks, guys. I hope we all enjoy our first month of summer. We'll be back in the next month to do another podcast.